What is going on, Bucs fans and CFP fans? Evan Wanish here, back at you with another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And today we're going to be going over the players to watch for the Buccaneers Week 15 matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, a big matchup, right? The Buccaneers are facing a team that is over 500 in the Chargers. It's not going to be easy traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast as well. So you have that added in there. Also, not going to be an easy matchup for the Buccaneers, winners of 3 straight now, and now first place in the NFC South. So they now control their own destiny moving forward, and I think that's important, right? Because the thing that sucked about getting swept by the Atlanta Falcons, beside losing 2 football games, is it suddenly took the control out of the Bucs' hands, right? Now with the Falcons losing 4 straight and sort of stumbling down the stretch here, the Buccaneers have regained control of their own destiny. If they win out, they win the NFC South. There's nothing that the Atlanta Falcons can do about it. Now, I will say this again is going to be a challenge, and I think the Buccaneers are going to need multiple players to step up in this game. And I think the list that we have today is pretty critical, I would say. And I think when it's all said and done after the game, you're going to look at it, and if these players and units, positional players, played good, I think you're going to see a Buccaneers W. If they didn't, I think you're going to see a Buccaneers loss. So we'll see what happens. But let's get right into it with quarterback Baker Mayfield. Mayfield, look, he's been good, right? I'm not going to say he hasn't been good. However, the turnovers have become an issue, specifically the last 2 weeks with Baker Mayfield. 5 turnovers in the past 2 games here for the starting quarterback of the Buccaneers, and they just can't have that, especially against a good football team like the Chargers. I mean, Baker had 3 turnovers in 1 quarter. Now you could argue not every single one was on him against Vegas, but Vegas is a bad football team. You're able to overcome that, right, against a bad football team. You might not be able to overcome that against the Los Angeles Chargers, who have a stingy defense in their own right. So again, I think that's another reason why Baker really needs to find a way to step up and protect the football in this game. So I understand there's other factors at play there. I get it. But he has to protect the football better than he has lately, and it's not going to be easy because this Chargers defense is going to bring the heat, and especially on the road there, I do think it's going to be a challenge, but I think he could be up for the challenge. He has risen to the occasion more than once as the quarterback of the Bucs, so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he could do it yet again, but the Buccaneers are going to need a strong performance from Baker Mayfield, so I'd keep an eye on how he looks out there on Sunday. We're also going to talk about the Buccaneers running game. And this is one I think the Bucs can sort of control the clock maybe, and maybe play into the Chargers' hands a little bit here, because the Chargers are a team that this season has really been a pretty good running football team, and they've sort of been that ground and pound type team, and they've had a lot of success doing it. So maybe the Buccaneers take a page out of the Chargers playbook there, and they pound the rock, right? They keep that Chargers offense off the field. They control the tempo of the game. They run the clock down. They wear out the Chargers defense, and then you get hit with maybe some play action shots down the field. Maybe there's a couple of things that open up that way. So I think the Buccaneers run game is going to be pretty critical in this one. Rashad White obviously played a big role in the Bucs win against Las Vegas last week. I think he could play another big role because we're sort of unclear on Bucky Irving's status. As of the recording of this video, we are unclear of Bucky Irving's status. He's listed as questionable. We'll see if he can go. If he can go, it's a major boost to the Bucs run game. But if he can't, I do have faith in Rashad White and a guy like Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker had a pretty big run down the stretch there in that game against Vegas to sort of help salt that game away. So I do have faith in him as well. I think the Bucs run game will go a long way, not just helping that offense, but also helping Baker Mayfield. So it sort of comes back to the quarterback there. But I think helping Baker Mayfield is helping in the offense as a whole. I think, if the Bucs are able to run the ball effectively, I think it could be major plot point in this football game. But let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. And I know this is a cop-out, but I'm going to say the Bucs defensive line for 2 reasons. One, I mentioned about how the Chargers, right, with their running game and how they've been ground and pound, and they've been really good at it, right? They're a really good running football team. They built a pretty good program over there, and sort of that's their identity, right? So I think that's up to the defensive line, right, to try and slow that running game down, make the Chargers as one-dimensional as you can. I think that's pretty important there. A guy like Vita Vea up the middle there is going to be a pretty critical spot, pretty critical piece to this puzzle against the Chargers offense. So you're going to have Gus Edwards running the football. It was J.K. Dobbins. Unfortunately, he had suffered an injury, but he was really good. So I think it just speaks to the depth that the Chargers have. I think Gus Edwards is a quality running back. So, and they're going to still try and run the ball. Just because J.K. Dobbins is out doesn't mean that they're going to stop trying to run the football. I think they're going to continue to try and run it. And again, sort of do what I suggested Tampa to do on the offensive side of the ball. Control the clock, control this game, wear down that Tampa Bay defense, which is already banged up enough. So I do think the Bucs defensive line is going to be critical of stopping the run, but also rushing the passer. Now, the Bucs secondary is banged up, right? You don't have Antoine Winfield Jr. You're not going to have Mike Edwards. You don't have Jordan Whitehead. Christian Izien is questionable coming into this game. The Bucs secondary is banged up, folks. And one way to help out your secondary is to not allow the quarterback to simply have enough time to sit back there and find an open man right down the field. So if the Bucs can put pressure, consistent pressure on Justin Herbert, who got a little bit banged up last week against Kansas City, appeared on the injury report this week, didn't practice, I Bleav, on Wednesday, was limited on Thursday, and then Friday, I Bleav, was limited as well. So is a little bit hobbled. It isn't going to be at full speed. I think if you can hit him a little bit, right? If you can get in his face, make him uncomfortable a little bit, it could help out your banged up secondary a lot. So I do think the Bucs pass rush is critical in this game as well. But also, we're going to take a look at that secondary. We're going to look at Jamel Dean. And I know that Jamel Dean has not had the season that a lot of Bucs fans have wanted him to or expected him to. I get it. He's being paid a lot of money. I understand that. But the Bucs need Jamel Dean to step up. I mean, I'm going to keep saying it until he does, right? They need Jamel Dean to step up. This team's best corner this year has been Zion McCollum. And that's a good thing, right? For Zion McCollum's development and everything, that is a good thing. However, Jamel Dean is being paid money to be this team's top corner, essentially. So he needs to start playing like it, and especially down the stretch here as the Buccaneers play a team like the Chargers. This is a pretty good litmus test for the Bucs. They've been playing teams that are below 500. Now you get a team that's above 500 coming in here, a pretty good football team. And I think it's a pretty good litmus test for what the playoffs or a potential playoff matchup could be like. So I think a guy like Jamel Dean is definitely one that needs to step up and play well in this game to show some confidence in this secondary, especially, again, with the amount of safeties that are down for the Bucs. They're going to need a lot of help from their corners. They're going to need their corners to play a solid game. I trust Zion McCollum, but Jamel Dean needs to show more than he has so far this year. But let me know what you guys think. What players are you going to be keeping an eye on? I'm curious to hear. What position groups maybe are you guys going to be keeping an eye on? What do you think is sort of critical to the Buccaneers' success there on offense or defense? I'm really curious to hear your guys' answers. But please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And go Bucs.